Honey, welcome to Behind the Tune.
Thanks for having me, Nikita.
Thank you for being here. You're in Sydney for how long now?
So I've only been here for a few days, just here for a little bit of a break. It's been nice to check it out.
Yeah, because you were telling me before you've been here before, but not like a full independent holiday.
Yeah, I came up for a show a few months ago, and then I used to run a vintage clothing company. One of our suppliers was here, so we did a day up here just picking some stock and then went back. But that's really the only time I've spent in Sydney since I was like 10 when we went to Manly.
Oh, right. When did you run that?
It was from like 2023, like last year we finished it up.
Yeah.
It was called Fat Racks Vintage. It was good fun. It went pretty well. I did it with a mate. But it just got too much. When we started, we were both uni students and, locked down and kind of chill. But then by the time we finished, he was working full-time construction management. I was doing work plus DJing. So finished while it was still alive and didn't let it fizzle out. But
yeah.
It was good fun.
Lots of lessons learned though, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Running a business. How successful was the little venture?
It was good. Paid for a Euro holiday last year, which was good. But like that's about it. Like it was for the amount of hours you put into it versus what you get out. It's probably a low hourly rate, but it was good fun. Learned how to set up a company and do tax and marketing and all sorts of different stuff. So no regrets.
Yeah, was that like just Melbourne based or?
Yeah, it was an online store. So we did markets and stuff in Melbourne, but then sold. It was mainly around Australia, but there's a few international sort of stuff as well.
So you'd come up to Sydney, do pick vintage stock, and then take it back down with you in Melbourne?
Yeah, because we had other suppliers overseas, but then there was a guy in Sydney that would sell to. He just had a little storage warehouse with thousands of t-shirts and jumpers and stuff. So we'd just rock up, pick it, and then go. So it was not exploring the city at all, but it was cool. It was enough for me to know that the weather's better here.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
so sunny here.
Honestly, yeah. I went down to like Victoria, Melbourne area over the New Year to BTV, but yeah, the weather is just so weird.
Yeah.
It's like super hot during the day, and I'm sure anyone that went to BTV experienced the same thing. But it's just super hot during the day, and then at night it's just freezing.
Yeah.
So like you have to bring like 2 sets of outfits for the day, which I did not prepare for. I brought one jumper.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, I was on the assumption. I think historically, everyone's been to BTV is like, oh, it's just so hot there. Yeah. Like just singlets, just shorts. Like you won't need any cold weather gear. I was like, sick, easy. But then unfortunately, it was absolutely freezing cold, and the wind didn't help either.
Yes, it was quite windy. It's why it's good to. It's why I like camping festivals, because you can go back, get a little bit of a snack, get your jacket on, and then go back in for the second half at night time. Don't have to carry around a jumper all day if you're at a single day festival or something.
That's if your campsite's close though. Unfortunately for us, our campsite was about a 20-minute walk from the dance dome.
Yeah, okay.
And because there was only that one entrance, it was so we had to like prepare to go back and then prepare to go back in.
Yeah, you got to time it.
Yeah. We're like, okay, this is a bit of a quiet period. No one's playing that we want to see, so we're going to go back, get changed, and then we had to go back in.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Did you enjoy VTV?
Yeah, it was actually great event. So busy though.
Yeah.
Probably
since
Splendor in the mud that we went to a few years ago, that was a mess. Just overall, but probably the busiest festival I've been to since that. It was absolutely packed. Getting out of the dance dome, if you try and go in a little bit to get out, you're going to be
ducking away. Sorry, excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, you had to be that guy. And they have that massive line of people, and then you just stand there. And for some random reason, we always got stuck in the walkway.
Yeah. It feels like no matter where you go, there's always people holding hands.
It's the worst thing, when you're like, okay, we've got a good spot, and then just 20 people just march on through, and you're like, fuck. Wow. And then you got to find a new spot. Yeah. Well, speaking of BTV, you were there as well. You played there. Went to BTV, I'm assuming, also attended. Yeah. How was that? How was that experience?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really cool. BTV was one of the first festivals I went to in, I think 2017, 18 was my first year there. And so to play this year was awesome, and to still be with heaps of mates that I used to go to BTV with, a while back, all still came. So yeah, it was cool. I went for the full 4 days, so I got to enjoy it for the first 3. And then on New Year's Eve, played at Dr. Dan's and then the Schmall Club later that night. Yeah. And yeah, it was incredible. Like I was on 1 till 2 p.m. on New Year's Day, so I was thinking, people are pretty knackered by then, probably keen to get as much sleep as they can before a big night. But yeah, it was packed at my stage. There was, I don't know exact numbers, but probably like 600 to 800 there at that time of day, which I was stoked with. Helped that it was a nice sunny afternoon. But yeah, I couldn't have gone better really. Like I was happy with the way I mixed, the songs I chose, the crowd seemed to really enjoy it. I don't know, it was a great experience. And then got to go heavy in the small club, which was good because I've been playing harder for quite a while now. So that was my first housey set, which was cool to do. But it was nice to then sort of give people probably what they were expecting later on.
Yeah, I was actually, speaking of those people that are knackered, I was one of them. So I didn't make it out by 1 p.m. unfortunately. But no, yeah, I actually gave it a listen and I was a bit surprised that it's a bit slower than what you're usually used to, than what you usually play. But again, it's a 1 p.m. set, but
yeah,
you got to make up for it at the small club. How was the small club? Because I didn't actually get to go in there.
Oh, it's sick. Yeah, it's so much fun. It's probably fit like 300 odd people in there. And the sound was super loud. It's just a good way to... It's basically like a club, essentially. So it's nice for after you've been in the big, massive crowds to just go somewhere, see someone like, Laura King or Samba Boys played in there, Heartstring played in there, to see these massive artists with not many people. Like Rufus played in there with 17 people.
I heard that. Someone said that.
Yeah. There was like a secret set and they don't announce the set times for it. And the security guard was like, oh yeah, Rufus are playing in here tomorrow. I was like... Yeah, like, no way.
Did you catch him?
No, I didn't believe him. I didn't think it would be true.
Pulling your leg.
Yeah.
I actually heard that as well. That's the second time I heard it, so it must have been... Have you seen the videos? Is it like confirmed that they played, or is that still a bit of a rumour?
I've heard like people that work at the festival saying that, yeah, they played, but there's just no one there. Because then they played at the Dance Dome for that secret set a couple hours later, so...
Oh, they played on that same day?
Yeah, it was like just before that. I think they played Dance Dome like 4 or 5, and they were in the small club 1 or 2 or something like that.
Right. Yeah, the small club is an interesting one because you get all those secret sets, but it's more, you can't plan around it. It's more if you're in there and you're lucky enough to catch whatever name's in there, then that's it. But
there's a little Excel screenshot that goes around of the set times that the DJs get, and then we're not meant to send it around, but then once you're at the festival, people flick it around. So you can, if you get an airdrop from the right person, you can find out the set times. But
right.
It's nice just to have a place where there's always hard music. Because during the day, like it's quite housey until it gets dark, which is cool. But at least like if you just feel like you need a bit of a pep in your step and energy, you can just go into the small club, get your little dance on, and then go back out.
Yeah, how was preparing for that Dr. Dan set? Because as you said, it's different to what you're usually used to playing.
Yeah,
how was that?
I was playing mind games in my head for sure. 'Cause like my mind went back to Sturm last year, who played on the Dance Dome at 1 o'clock, and he went hard, like a lot harder than you would at that time slot. But it's made him who he is. Like it was the best set of the festival. He smashed it. I'm like,
oh, last year's one.
Last year. I'm like, do I do a Sturm and like maybe not quite play to the set time, but then try to smash it and give people what they expect, or do I be a team player, play housey stuff? And I decided to go down that route. I had a lot of chats with people, and yeah, I think until you have your own tracks and production and your own sound, I think you sort of have no right to play outside your set time. Whereas at the moment, I'm just a DJ. I haven't released anything. I will soon. But so that means if I'm a DJ, I need to be the true art of a DJ, which is to be able to play any set, anytime, have a wide range. And so it was nice to show people that I still have that in my bag. But I did have to prep pretty hard to find music that was still that energetic style upbeat that I bring while still being low BPM. So I found a lot of nice 90s housey tracks, quite a lot that have only just been released digitally. They were on vinyl, and so that was like when I found them, like, oh nice, this is a little bit of gold. And then finished with some Italo disco, which I'm starting to get into.
So am I, actually. Yeah, I absolutely love it. Pablo Bozzi, Kendall, all those guys. Yeah. I actually shout out to Lestrange, who actually put me onto Pablo Bozzi. He put me onto his Boiler Room. I remember I gave that a listen. I was like, wow, the music, you recognize it, but you don't actually know what it is.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely a massive fan of Pablo Bozzi's now.
Yeah.
Huge fan of his. But I want to actually speak about your production side because you're just a DJ. I think we'll leave that till later because I still want to talk about like what you've done in the last couple of months. Yeah. And then we can talk about your production, I reckon, because that's also a very interesting part of your, I guess, journey. That you are just you are like a DJ only, so you don't actually produce music, but you've been able to make a name for yourself just with your DJing.
Yeah.
How difficult has that journey been?
I think it's been pretty fine up until now, but it's sort of now that I start to hit that ceiling, as you can only get so far as a DJ only, unless you're sort of in that 1%, your Patrick Mason types, although he has released music, but he's not known for it. But it's so like now I've been able to play on all the lineups that I want to play on. But, you know, I'm early in the day, second stage or something like that. And until I pump out good tracks that people enjoy, then that's sort of the limit. So I'll have my first track releasing hopefully in a few weeks.
Okay,
actually.
sick.
So I've been producing for a couple of years now, on and off, but only really taking it seriously the last year or so. And I've been holding on to tracks for way too long. Like I've been playing tracks that have gone really well in Aussie clubs, in European clubs, but for some reason I'm just not happy with them. They're like, some of them, they were like, you know, the second and third tracks I made, and they're going great overseas, but I'm like, this can't be right. You can't make your second song ever and it goes well. Like, that shouldn't be how it works.
You never know.
I need to put in the work. So
you never know.
I had a little goal to make 20 tracks before I release one, because I found that every track I was making was better than the last, and so I wanted to just keep building on that. But there comes a point where that could be true forever, and then you never release anything. So I'm going to start putting stuff out. But it's been interesting. I think you need to, if you're going to be a DJ only, you need to be providing value in other ways, because essentially the way it works is that the people that get booked for the headline sets or that get nice set fees are the ones that bring people in the door. And so I've had to find other ways to provide value to clubs if I don't have, you know, the huge numbers, which I do have a really good fan base. Oh, not fan, that sounds shitty, but like a community of people that I get around them, they get around me, sort of thing. But I've done a lot of things behind the scenes to help clubs. So I've helped them with finding new talent and, you know, sending them lists of talent and diverse talent. I run like probably Australia's biggest promoter team. So I help festivals sell a ton of tickets. I've done some diversity and inclusion consulting for clubs behind the scenes. So by building up relationships and helping them, they've then helped me along the way. And that helps when you're a DJ only, I think.
Yeah, it's something I want to ask. How did you sort of build your name up as a DJ only and were able to land all those gigs that you've played at? You know, well deserved, but sort of what's led you to those moments of those gigs?
Yeah, like I've just played a lot of gigs over like 4 years or so. You know, I started doing parties and weddings and stuff like that, and then was playing the Sundays and the Thursdays everywhere a couple of years ago, and then built up. And I think over time, if you just keep nailing every set, keep showing that people are coming to watch me, that I'm pleasing people, playing respectful sets that, you know, are still popping off, you then start to build trust. It's like, okay, he smashed it on the opening set on a Thursday, let's give him a Friday set. All right, he did well. Saturday, all right, main room now. And it's just like slowly by slowly, if you keep getting little wins every set you play, then it gets bigger. But then that's sort of in the club scene. But then to go from club to festival, it was, I guess the clubs or the festivals felt that I deserved a spot based on how much I've provided and helped them out throughout the year. So I've done a lot of work for Untitled throughout the year, but also proven to them that I've done well at, you know, XC54, their club. Same with I played at Cake on New Year's Day, proven that I've done well at Nerve, their club. So I think just trying to keep proving them and building that trust up so that then they're willing to put me on one of the big lineups. Yeah.
How do you build that trust? Just by interacting with them and, as you said, doing stuff behind the scenes? But
then also in your performance as well, being able to play appropriate music at any set time that gets the crowd pumping and gets people coming back. And I think like I've shown that I've got a fair bit of pull in terms of people that want to come and watch over the last little while. So that's, you know, at the end of the day, it's like they need to make money. If they're choosing between one or two DJs and one's going to bring 3 people through the door and one's going to bring 50, like it makes, you know, more sense for them to get a bit of money out of it. So I've been able to, you know, have a really good community over the last a couple of years now. I try to support them, they support me, so it's been good.
Yeah, I actually have noticed that you've got a very, I don't want to say like a shitty way, like a fan base, but a very engaged and loyal community with like your sets.
Yeah,
and even on
really
social
nice.
media, you can see that. Like, I think that's something that goes a bit unnoticed, that, you know, you play great music and you play great sets, but I think your engagement with your community is also very important.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that are going to come see you, support you, share your sets, follow you, like you, you know, build you up.
Yeah.
as well, and help you.
Everyone needs that if you're, trying to go forward. So it's so important for me to get down to the club early, like say hi to the people that have come to watch you, make sure they've got guest links, like a guest list. I never use my drink cards. I dish them all out to the people that have, paid money to come and see me after your set. If there was someone in the front row who was vibing it the whole time and I don't know who they are, make sure I find out who they are, what's their name. It's like, they're taking time out of their life, money out of their bank to come and watch me and get around it. So it's only fair that I try to get to know them and always ask how I can support them as well. So, whether that's they're trying to get fit and they want to go for a run, I get them on board for the Quickest Thieves run, or, if they are creative in their own right or they want me to listen to a mix or whatever. Yeah, I think that's really important for sure.
It's like very much engaging your community. Just showing support to the ones that showed you support as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's just the right thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. How is that transition going from like a club setting to a festival setting?
Festivals are so good. They're so good because they're there because they like music and they want to be there and they want to dance. Whereas at the club, sometimes people are just there because they were at a party before and everyone wanted to go out, or just because they want to, just have a big night or whatever. Or like, I feel like if you're paying a lot of money for a festival, it's because you like the artists on the lineup and you enjoy the festival experience. So the crowds are a lot more patient. They are open to a wider range of sounds, and they're happy to let the DJ do their thing a bit more. Whereas in clubs, sometimes you have to play to the club sound or just play to what's going to get the crowd pumping. So it's a lot more freedom, and just playing to the sheer number of people is amazing too.
Yeah. You get more freedom with your sound as well, as you said. Because how is that, considering that you'll usually play a bit of a faster pace style, faster pace set? How is that, as you said, sometimes having to open up some clubs or playing a bit earlier? How's that process of picking out the music for that set and playing a bit slower than what you're used to? Or is that sort of just something that you're, again, used to now, just playing slower as well when you have to?
Yeah, I think because I've played for 4 years now and I've done every kind of set, I have like my USB. I've got over 12,000 tracks on my USB, so I'm pretty set for almost any situation. These days,
how many was that what's the storage on that USB?
2 terabyte. Yeah, so I've got like 4 hard drives that I run with, and then a USB with just whatever I hope to play over the last month or so, because it doesn't have enough storage to fit it all.
Yeah, of course. I don't think there's a 2 terabyte USB out there.
No, there's not. But yeah, over the years, you just, you build up your library. And because I know the scene and the clubs and the brands in Naarm so well, it helps to plan your sets a little bit. It's these days I mainly only play sort of middle of the night or quite late. I play so many closing sets these days just because I play harder. So I haven't played like an opening set for a while, but if that was to come up now, it's like, okay, like I know what kind of sound is normally playing at that time, what is an appropriate speed before, pushing it too fast and getting into the, annoying the later DJ's territory, but also like what is still going to get the club going. So yeah, I think just putting in the reps of being at clubs and playing sets of all different types just builds your knowledge and skill of what to play when.
Yeah. What's been like your most favorite gig over the last, because your last month has been pretty hectic, or like the end of the year last year. Yeah. You had a massive run of the gigs.
Yeah. It's been, I've been super lucky this summer. It's ever since sort of coming back from the Euro tour mid-year, things have really picked up. So I think my favorite gig, Dr. Dan's, was like that set that you listen to, like even though it's not the tunes that like I've been playing recently, like it was just such a wholesome feel good moment to look out and see like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people at that time. It's like, oh, there's some footy friends, there's some school friends, there's work friends. It was just like a real like wholesome kind of full circle moment. This is like so weird, but when it was lockdown, and whenever Dan Andrews in like our Vic premiere announced another lockdown, I would do a live stream that night to try to make people happy.
Oh, that's actually really cool. Like, no, that's so cool. It's not weird at all.
Yeah, it was, and so I'd do that like every time. And then there was one where it was like a big date where it's like, okay, in 3 weeks' time, there's going to be an announcement as to whether or not we're going to be free, sort of thing. And so I'd said like, all right, I'm going to do a big live stream, like want everyone to get around it. And then I tagged Tom Core, one of the founders of Untitled and Beyond the Valley, just in that like post, because when I was 4 years ago, I just thought that's the way you get played at BTV, you know?
Just tag Untitled.
Yeah, tag and they'll look at me after I was playing on my little, like, tiny little controller. Because so that's always been the goal, to play BTV. And so to then 4 years later play twice was really incredible. So I think, like, that was probably my favourite. Yeah, that I've played. Yeah.
It's like a bit of a full circle moment in a way.
Yeah. Super wholesome. And I was just really happy with the songs I played and the vibe created. Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah, it was good. It was like not too slow, but it also wasn't like too driving and good for like a 1 p.m. set. Unfortunately, I said I missed it because I was too scat, but
I understand. I know what it's like. Yeah.
But yeah, how was your BTV experience as a punter? How was that experience? I haven't actually asked you about it.
Yeah, I love Beyond the Valley. It feels like the end of year Christmas party for the music industry.
It does actually. Yeah,
it's basically everyone goes. Like, I've been as a punter before being a DJ, but these days it's like, okay, the DJs, the stage managers, the artist liaisons, the photographers, video, like everywhere you go, there's people and it's a good way for me to interact with my community and the people that have supported me throughout the year. So it's really good fun. And I thought it was nice this year. It was very housey until quite late at night. I would have liked a little bit more techno towards the end, but I thought it reminded me that wow, house really does have a place. Like,
it's timeless.
It's timeless, and like I really like playing hard and fast, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. But if I'm doing that, there's only about 15% of the sets on any day techno. So got to be bloody good at it to be getting those sets. At least in Australia, our kind of doofs. There's overseas, there's like techno all day kind of things. But it was really fun just hanging out with my crew, spending time at the campsite, and then going in and seeing as much music as I can, especially supporting the homies. I spent most of my time at the Dr. Dan's or Schmall Club, or getting around people that were playing their first Dance Dome sets and stuff like that. Because it's everyone's big moment, so the support of DJs for each other it's so nice.
Yeah. Who was like your standout sets? Who did you enjoy the most?
I think last year I had heaps that I was like, yep, they were like the top 3 or 4. Like, it was High, DJ Boring, Stum, Laura King. Whereas this year there was a lot that were really, really good, but I there wasn't one that I'm walking away like, that was a top 10 set I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
But there was heaps that I really enjoyed. And it was a lot of those ones where it was like kind of sunset, housey. I was with my friends. So the J to G, Salute, Ewan McVicker, those kind of sets. I was like, this is...
Yeah, the McVicker set was insane. I think the vibe was just perfect as well.
Yeah, perfect time of day. And I spent a lot of time more towards the back of the stage because we had a really big crew this year. And so that was just where it was easy to congregate. Whereas previous years, I liked to get up the front. And I do think that makes a difference. Like, the more memorable sets in my life are ones where I'm right at the front. I can watch the DJ and see everything they're doing. I'm very much like how I play, very visual and engaging and bouncy. I like to watch that as well. So I think that might have maybe been one of the reasons why it's not like, there wasn't one that I'm like, that was incredible, because I couldn't like see. As much as doof sticks are amazing and beautiful and cool,
they can get in the way.
I like to see the DJ and see what they're doing.
Yeah. The doof sticks were crazy. We didn't go for one this year. We went for one with Pitch last year, but I'm not a fan of having a doof stick.
Okay.
They're just way too inconvenient.
Yeah.
Because you got to hold them, and then I think we were first time doof stick makers, and we definitely took the wrong route. We got like this very thin pole that like at the slightest bit of wind would just...
Yeah. Well, the tip for anybody is if you're looking for a pole, get a like a pool cleaner pole, like go to Clark Rubber or something, because they extend up really high and they're quite rigid. So we had one of them, and it was strong. It was solid. Ours was really high. Yeah, there was a bunch of blokes that were in front of us at Dr. Tan stage, and they were spending like 10 minutes just trying to unscrew that pool thing. Yeah, they're good. But I really like a doof stick because I bounce around from stage to stage to stage so much to try support mates. So it was nice to always be able to come back and see the crew.
That's why they are good, yeah, because you can use it as like a checkpoint.
Yeah. I was able to find the crew pretty quickly. Just look around, look for the blue fluffy one. All right, sweet.
What was your doof stick? Which one did you have?
We had 2. It was one had like Mr. Bump and Little Miss Naughty, and then there was one which had a vibrator on it. It said vibes.
Fair enough.
The girlies made that, and they said everyone will get around it. So yeah, it was cool.
Did everyone get around it?
Yeah. A lot of the girls would walk past. Was like, nice one. The guys were like, it looks like an AirPod.
Yeah, there's some interesting doof sticks out there. I think my favorite one was I'm just from memory. I like Bags Royale. The Fortnite one. That one was sick. And then, I'm trying to remember, but I can't. It was too many.
Yeah, there was a lot of Josh Giddey ones going around.
Oh, I love all the basketball reference ones.
Yeah.
There was a Josh Giddey one going around. There was one really good one, but I forgot what it was, basketball reference. But I think I've seen the bump before, like for LeBron James.
Yeah,
but
that one gets around a bit. Yeah,
I like the basketball reference ones. But yeah, back going towards like what you were saying before, how you were saying you like to be at the front of sets to the DJ. That's the way you sort of like to interact with the crowd.
Yeah,
you're obviously very known for your stage presence as a DJ, and I think it's awesome because you're very outgoing DJ. It brings the energy as well. What's like your tips for stage presence for DJs, for someone like you who has a lot of stage presence?
Yeah, I think stage presence is really important and definitely helps to elevate the mood. If two people played the exact same set and one's deadpan, not smiling, and the other's getting around the crowd and getting around people, it definitely helps to make people feel a part of it and that they know the DJ, they can trust them. And so I always try to bring that. I think my tips would be to be quite prepared. So I like to plan out my sets a fair bit. I always have if I'm playing a 1 hour set, I normally get through 25, 30 songs. So I'll have a playlist of roughly 100 that I think will suit the vibe based on just what I know about the club. And then I normally have a playlist of if things were to go exactly to plan, I was to play the exact songs I wanted, what would the flow be? And so I normally start with that in my set. And then as I read the crowd, I veer off into that broader playlist. And on another deck, I then have my full USB and can go out. And I have cue points on every single track, every one of my 12,000 tracks. So I know, it takes a lot of time, but it means I know all the right places to mix in and out. And so that means that at the time, I'm not making many decisions up on stage apart from what track to play. Mm-hmm. Because I don't have to be spending 5 minutes searching, digging for a song. I don't have to be playing around trying to find when's a good place to mix it out. I've already thought about that at home. So instead I can just focus on mixing the tracks and then engaging with the crowd. So I think being prepared, knowing the club, knowing your tracks really well helps, because it just means you spend less time looking at the screen, which is the least engaging thing ever, and more time looking up. And then it's also just to smile at the people that are smiling at you. If someone's got their hands over reaching at the decks, dap them up, give them a high five. If people are allowed behind the decks, bring them around, make them feel part of it, and then naturally they'll get into it. And then just bounce around, have fun. DJing is fun. When I see DJs that are just mixing, I get they might be concentrating, and that's cool. But are you not enjoying this? This is the best job ever. It's so fun. Surely you're smiling.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of your whole personality. Is you're very anyone that follows you on Instagram or follows you on social media knows that you're a very outgoing and very fun guy. Very happy all the time. There's never a moment or video that I've seen of you where you're not smiling or laughing.
Yeah.
Is that just sort of something that you've been like that since young, or is that something that you've sort of developed and just, through life became a lot happier?
I think I've always been a pretty happy person, and I've had a good life, very privileged and lucky, and have always been safe. But then the older you get, sort of the more you just feel comfortable in yourself. And so, for as long as I can remember, I've been happy really, but especially the last 5 or 6 years, sort of once, getting out of school and exploring yourself and life, I think I feel happiest when I'm just being me, and that sort of vice versa. Being me is typically a happy person. And I'm doing really enjoyable things in my life now, music's full time, got a wonderful partner, Jules, a lot of good mates, so not a lot to complain about. So pretty happy guy. Very
grateful. Do you practice any gratefulness, or are you just sort of naturally grateful?
I used to practice it a fair bit. I used to work at a pharma company, and I was the vibes manager sort of. So
really?
HR, but every morning I would do an activity with the team. It was mindfulness Monday, trivia Tuesday, wellness Wednesday, that kind of thing. And so I used to do a lot of be really proactive about it. But I think the better you get at gratitude, the more it just happens naturally. I don't think about it. I just look around oh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. This is nice. And whenever I'm on stage, I always have a moment where it's this is sick. This is
I'm
so
sure.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm sure that's you get those. Yeah.
So it's very much just ingrained in me now. I don't have to think about it. And I think it's just the more you do it subconsciously, the happier you get. It's a nice cycle. Yeah.
Well,
Do you practice?
No, I reckon I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
I just don't practice. I need to practice more gratefulness. I think, yeah, I feel like in this day and age, it's very easy to sort of be naturally ungrateful. Not in a sense where like, I'm again very privileged with the way I've grown up, but it's very easy to like, let that sort of slip by and just sort of look at it as like this everyday thing. Whereas, as yourself, you said, partner, grow up safe, grow up well, good group of mates, you're doing what you love. That's very simple things, but a lot of people, I think, including myself, can just sort of bypass that. Yeah. I think that's my problem, I guess.
With social media, it's so easy to compare and see there's always something better. There's always the next level. But
I think that's the biggest problem for me as well, and I'm sure anyone listening probably has the same problem. Social media has made it so difficult to be grateful for things.
Yeah.
How do you manage that with social media? Because I feel like it gets to everyone at some point. But how do you sort of practice putting that barrier up?
It's difficult. My screen time is disgusting. I spend so much time, both because like it's sort of my work, like to keep up an Instagram profile that's always being engaging, to be able to like engage with the community, but then also like running my promoter team and like helping out clubs. I'm always on Instagram looking at what other DJs are doing, and like it is hard to not fall in like the comparison trap and say like, oh shit, this person's like doing really good, or like I just want to be at that level when you see someone who's popping off or whatever. But how do I put up the wall?
Or like a barrier, because I feel like it's, as you said, it's very easy to just drown yourself in social media.
Yeah.
Even though, as you said, my screen time's horrible as well. But again, it's like if you run like a page or a brand, you have to be on Instagram.
Yeah, you got to just be engaged.
Which is the shit thing. Unless you hire a manager, which...
Who's got money for
I don't know, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
So you've got to be on it all the time, and it can be horrible.
Yeah,
like,
I think I'm someone who's naturally very happy for other people and their success. So like I don't really get jealous much of like other DJs in the scene. I'm more just like stoked for people whenever they get their big break. But then I sort of know like the difference between what's realistic and what's not. Like I see someone who's like, mall grab or something, like, fuck, like I'd love to be a mall grab sort of thing. But you're just like, yeah, but he's put in the work for 15 years. I've put in the work for 4 or 5 years. Like, just sort of got to be realistic. Like, yeah, that could be me one day, but I've got another 10 years to catch up to do like, to be able to do what he's doing sort of thing. So I think it's like just being realistic. Okay, what's your life? What can you control versus like, what is the algorithm just throwing at you? Because if it wasn't for the algorithm throwing things at you, like you wouldn't even be thinking about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's funny, because I think I don't follow. Obviously, I'm not an artist or a DJ myself, so I don't have that reason to be jealous. But I think seeing people's success, it's difficult to sort of be like, oh, but I want that. But as you said, you got to be realistic and understand that you're on your own journey as well.
Yeah.
How has it been managing your journey with social media and seeing your peers doing their thing and then sort of staying content with the way that your journey as well? Yeah,
I think it's just like, for me, it's the work that I put in is what I get out, and that's what I really enjoy about doing music full time, being self-employed. Is I used to work for the government in pharma, and it was like sick, but like you get paid your salary. If you work harder than the people next to you, you get paid the same amount. If you slack off, you get paid the same amount. Whereas that's what I like.
Or you get a shout out at a meeting.
yeah, you might get a Freddo at the morning tea. But here it's like, if I put in more hours, that directly correlates with me eventually getting better gigs, or whatever other positive things there are. And so I've been, I just grind. I work too much. But it's because I enjoy it. Like, it doesn't feel like work to me. So, managing my journey has been fun, really. Yeah, it's just about really understanding and planning out, okay, where do I want to get to and what are the steps that I need to get there. I think that's what a lot of people, they say, I'd love to do this, or they want to do that. But like, okay, well, if you want to do that, like, who are the people you need to meet? Find out what their problems are. What's the value that you can provide those people, and then how can you get that done?
Yeah.
And working with Taylor Mills and the crew at Faces of Group, they do like an up and coming program, which is like a 12-week course, which helps DJs and like anyone to really get to where they want to be. So I did that program with Tay early last year. And it was a really good way. He basically focused on everything apart from the music. So the branding, the networking, negotiation, social media, all that kind of stuff. And that really helped me then take this quite seriously, because like, this is my job now. Like, this is what I got to do. So I've answered that in a very roundabout way, but
no, that's perfect. It's great. There's a lot, there's a lot of avenues you can take from that. But I think, as you said, your work directly correlates to your output.
Yeah.
So I think that's important as well. Because if you slack off and you're not getting anything, then you can only blame yourself, really.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I work harder than most people, and so I see those results. Like it's something that I can control. So I really like that.
What does a day in the life for you look like then?
Changes a lot.
What's like a broad template of your day in life?
An ideal day is getting a few hours in the studio in the morning, making tunes. And then trying to do a little bit of exercise around lunch. If I'm busy, that drops off the schedule pretty quickly, but same with producing. But then I'm normally I normally have a meeting with someone most days. So whether that's like a festival to see how I can help them with like promo side of things, whether it's just like chatting to a DJ who wants to get a coffee or like doing that kind of thing. And there's always a lot of admin. So like doing your invoices stuff. I play like 40, 50 weddings a year as well. I don't post anything about it because I got to get money. So I work for an agency, so that's often part of my day. And like doing stuff for Honey I'm Home event. So there's normally some editing of a podcast set or something like that. Yeah, there's always some kind of social media element, whether it's like just getting back to messages or, prepping a post or stories or mapping out a timeline. It's so varied. And then like, I mentioned a couple of times, like I run a promoter team. There's like 500 people in my crew. And so we sell tickets for like all the big festivals basically in like Victoria. So there's always a lot of messages and making sure they get paid and stuff like that.
So what does that entail?
Yeah. So essentially the festivals come to me and my team with a deal, which would see us selling tickets for them. So and then I have promoters on my team, so I pose the deal, say like, hey, do you want to sell for this event? And so normally if they sell a ticket, they get money, so like a commission. And then if they sell a certain amount of tickets, they get a free ticket to the event. So like for BTV, for example, it's like $7 per ticket. And then you get, if you sell 25 tickets, you get a free ticket. And like that keeps going. If you sell 100, you get 4, for example. So we've worked on like 15 festivals this season. Like we sold over 5,000 tickets to BTV.
Wow.
So 1 in 7 people at BTV bought a ticket off my team.
Wow.
Which is like pretty nuts. But then that's like the value that I'm talking about of like how I can, if I'm just a DJ only, like, okay, well, how can I help these companies like Untitled? And like, that's one way for now, while I don't have tracks that are doing the talking, that's one way that I can sort of bring value to their event. So yeah, it's a good deal. The festival sells more tickets. I get a little bit of money, and the festival and the promoters get money, and they get to go to events for free. So yeah, it's a good setup.
Yeah. So did you start that brand yourself? Or is it a brand?
It's been a thing for a while, like as a concept.
Yeah.
But I used to be a promoter for somebody else. And like that went quite well. And then after there was a few other people that were trying to poach me after I did really well doing that, like different hosts. And then I was chatting to them like, who should I go with? And one of them was like, why don't you just be a host? Like, why don't you make your own team? And then I've gone pretty hard on that and just like trying to build a big team and see what can happen. So it's worked quite well because it's like providing value to my community now. So like if they're coming to these events anyway, it's like, well, now you can come for free and make some money off it. So,
yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah. So is it more of like just like a private brand? It's not anything on social media or?
Yeah, I just do it all through like Facebook Messenger. Like a couple times a year, I'll put up a story saying who wants to join the team. But it's not like an Instagram page or anything like that.
Yeah, it's more just like a. That's cool. I didn't know that there was like teams of promoters. I know those people that sell those discounted tickets and promote the festivals and stuff, but I didn't know that you ran a whole team of them.
Yeah, so there's someone who has to liaise like with that because the festival like companies, they don't have enough people to be dealing with all the promoters, so instead they employ sort of like us hosts to manage it, really.
Right. Okay, that's really interesting. As I said, I didn't know that was a thing that people just have massive teams of promoters. Well, I knew there was promoters, but yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
Yeah, there's not like heaps. There's probably only like 8 of us, sort of, or maybe 10 hosts that do that. But then, yeah, heaps of promoters. It's basically like a friendly pyramid scheme where no one loses because it doesn't cost anything to join. So there's no one loses at any point. But it is kind of.
It's got that. Yeah, I feel like with a couple wrong moves, it can definitely turn into a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, it's almost a Tupperware party.
Yeah, but yeah, that's awesome. I want to talk about your. There's a lot of things you can talk about actually, but your personal projects.
Yeah, cool.
Like Honey, I'm Home and Louder the Words. What are those two?
Yeah, awesome. So Honey, I'm Home was the first one that I started. So it started as a festival in my backyard. So my dad, I'm going to give you the story of this one, a couple minutes. So my dad had his 50th at our house 5 years ago, and he had a couple mates that play in bands, and he got them to play, and we're cleaning up the next day, and he was like, can't wait till you turn 50 and we can have another festival. I was like, Dad, I know people. We could make this happen. 1 year from now, how about we do it? And he was like, all right, sure, we'll have to convince Mum, but let's do it.
So your dad's friends played at his 50th?
Yeah.
Like as like a mini festival sort of thing?
Yeah, he just like 3 different bands played throughout the night.
That's awesome, yeah.
It was really cool. He's really into his music. And like I was like a real Triple J kid. Still enjoy that music. And so 1 year to that day, we had 12 artists from Victoria and New South Wales come and play. We had 250 people at my house, and we raised $10,000 for the bushfires because it was in 2020, like 3 weeks before shit hit the fan. And so from that, Honey, I'm Home was sort of born because I really enjoyed that we're able to raise money for a charity. And I really liked the vibe that created on the dance floor as well. I thought that because people knew it was for charity and it was all for a bigger purpose, people were very responsible and I think just like considerate. So I wanted to then bring that to a club space. So I then did a takeover at Circus a couple of years ago, and have done a couple other club nights, like a Christmas Eve at the Warrandyte, which had like 1,000 people, which was nuts. But then I've found that running events as a solo person, stressful, hard. It's enjoyable while it's there, but the times before and after is just like not that fun. So I then converted that to a busking series. So once a month, I pop up in the city with a different DJ and we raise money for a charity of their choice. Their friends come down, people can donate money, but then we also put it on YouTube and SoundCloud. And I wanted to do that so that I could give people an insight into who the DJs are as a person, which is like what you're doing on this podcast.
Very much, actually.
Because I felt that I'm in the industry and I know all these DJs. I'm with them backstage chatting, and there's so many lovely people with big hearts. But if you're on the dance floor, you don't see that. You see late nights, drugs, techno. It's not the vibe that I'm seeing is what the people seeing. So I wanted to add the charity element so that people can show what they care about, what's important to them. And then we have a little chat, like a 10-minute, interview, and then they get into the mix. And yeah, I'm still open to doing events for that. But I think for now, the busking series is just like, takes a couple of days out of my life and then it's done. Whereas events is a month's worth of stress in the lead
for
up.
sure. So I've seen a couple of them. So you just set up at a random location in the CBD, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I've got a busking permit and we pop up.
Yeah, and then you just set up a few speakers and just play.
Yeah, I carry my trolley with my generator, my decks, speaker, put some signs up with QR codes, and we just play. Sometimes it gets heaps of people come down, sometimes not. Sometimes the police aren't keen, sometimes they are.
Really? Even though they have a permit?
Yeah, but it's like we would be over the decibel limits.
And
technically,
true.
You're not allowed to fundraise as a busk.
Right.
But it's been pretty fine. My first ever donation was from a police officer.
Oh, awesome.
Whoever that person is, shout out.
Yeah, shout out to that police officer. Yeah, 100%. Have there been any like crazy stories or experiences during that series? I feel like being in public, there definitely has been a run-in.
We had to call the cops once.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Rush Hour were playing in Hosier Lane. Looked sick, graffiti. But there was a member of the public who was coming up and I think wasn't too well, but was sort of threatening Kate. Didn't like Kate's orange hair for whatever reason. Was calling her a witch and a thief and stuff. And then kept coming back and was, just being a pest. And then had a screwdriver in her fuck it. So we had to call the cops. And that was the only time in the busker where the whole busking series, I'm like, well, this isn't good. I don't like this. Because last thing I want is the artists who are giving up their time and money to feel unsafe. So
100%.
Cops helped out and moved on. But otherwise, it's been so nice. Like we did one last weekend, just near Parliament Station, and I've got 3 friends that recently moved over from the UK who have done big things over there, but haven't really got to meet people here yet. So I wanted to get them on and showcase, who they are and what they do. And we did it in a nice little grassy area, which like most parks are out of bounds for busking, but there was one tiny little patch of grass on the map that you're allowed to busk in. And so we had a picnic and heaps of people came down, and it was really good fun. So I saw that one. Yeah, I saw that one come up. Have you had members of the public join in? Yeah, all the time. Yeah. Like most of the time, it's the public just come along having a dance. Sometimes they stay for 2 minutes. Sometimes they stay for the whole thing. On the weekend, there was like a little girl, 2 or 3 years old, and her dad just came and had a boogie. Like so nice. And the other thing I like about it is showing the public that dance music is wholesome and nice. Like sometimes it's not, but most of the time it is, and that dance music doesn't need the stigma of being, clubby late nights sort of thing.
Dirty sort of stuff.
Dirty, underground. It can be nice and happy and fun.
It's great. Breaking the chains.
yeah.
Of everyone's of the stereotypes, which I think is awesome. I think, as you said, you only see the artist up in the booth for about an hour and a half, and then you see all the stuff going around, and sometimes it can be ugly, sometimes it can be great. But you don't actually know who the artist is. I think that was also one of my motivations starting the podcast is like, all these artists, like we'll talk with the big ones like Morgrab, Kedema, all those guys, but do you know who they actually are?
Yeah, no,
like
you don't.
You don't know their story, their experiences, insights they may have for people. Like you don't know that sort of stuff, and whether they're willing to share or not, that's another story. But that's the whole point of this sort of platform. It's for you to come on and speak on an open forum as well. Any issues that you think are critical that you want to talk about, it's an open forum. So that's why I created this sort of platform.
It's a great platform. For that. I really enjoy it because there's only really this and like Club Elevate that Ricky Nord does.
Yeah, awesome.
In Naarm, which are like where you just sit down and chat. It's not like you chat and then do a mix. Like that's why I really enjoy both podcasts and just listening, like actually getting to know people. I always love listening to the podcasts of artists that I don't know already, because then you feel like you kind of know them. So when you do get to meet them, you can have a chat and you have an understanding of who they are.
It's like every podcast though, if you think about it, there's podcasts with people that are, own businesses and other big musicians and stuff like that. So, why not in the dance music scene? Absolutely. And I think what Ricky Nord's doing is great. Sort of bring up both scenes in a different way. Yeah. Not just the music, with the music. Yeah. So it's awesome. Yeah, I think it's awesome. So shout out to Ricky Nord and Club Elevate.
Shout out.
Good stuff.
Love Ricky, Harry.
We're getting to the back end of the pod. Not really, but I want to talk about the Europe trip as well, because that obviously was a massive part of your year last year.
Yeah.
And how long were you there for?
There for 6 weeks.
Right. Yeah. I feel like it was a lot longer.
Yeah. I rinsed the content of it. That's probably why.
I swear I remember I messaged you about coming on the pod last year, and then you were very busy, and I was like, he's in Europe, and then he's got to go back. Because you went back to Europe, didn't you?
I was meant to go back, but ended up not going, because I had a few opportunities cancelled there and a few good opportunities came up here, so I decided to just stay home.
Yeah. When were you going to go over for the second time? What was that period?
I was going to go back September, October, so finish up for ADE, Amsterdam Dance Event. But yeah, just didn't work out, and then it was a really good move in the end. I had a good chat on the phone to Brent Honey, who's a mentor of mine, and he was like, you've sort of done, you've said the message of what you need to do with Europe. Come back and let's build up the Aussie scene and see what you can do here.
What were the opportunities, if you're allowed to share?
So I was
got cancelled and were brought up.
Yeah, so I was meant to play at a place in Glasgow, which would have been really cool, but there was they were about to launch, and then 3 days before there was 4 other techno events launched with big internationals, and we had one international and then locals, and he just look, I just can't see this going well for us really, so he decided to cancel, which was a bugger. And then there was another one in Munich, which I then chose. So I was like, because I was only going to go back for three gigs and a radio show. And I was like, the Glasgow one was the main one. I'd already played at one of the Munich clubs, like on the first round of my tour. So I'm like, there's not like heaps to gain by doing it again a month later. And then the other one I just chose to cancel, because I'm not going to go over for then one new gig and one radio show, because it's a lot of money to get over there and stuff. So, but then I came back here and was able to play at the Gasso, an XE main room, and a Revs event, which I wouldn't have got to play. So all worked really well.
Yeah, it's awesome. Those are 3 big clubs as well, aren't they? Or big venues?
3 of, XE and Revs. And then the third is up for contention between New Guernica and a few others. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, the Melbourne... I was actually there for over news for the first and second, but I didn't go out to any of the clubs. Just way too exhausted after BTV.
Fair enough, yeah.
But what's some venues in Melbourne that, like, obviously have your Revs, and I feel like XC54 now, which I haven't been to, but what are other venues around Melbourne that are great and coming up or haven't been established?
Yeah. So New Guernica is really good. They have a rotating Friday night where the different crews do, and then a Saturday, which is Eat the Beat every week. So that's a really solid club. Always have a good time there. There's a couple underground ones that even I haven't been too much. Sub Club and Miscellanea, both really cool, getting on good artists and stuff. But they're just very they're in a different lane, which is kind of the whole brand. But then it's always fun to play Glamorama, which is kind of more bar vibes, but still has amazing sound system, good dance floor. Brown Alley, which is where Nerve are doing Friday nights, which is run by Novel, who do Let Them Eat Cake and the Small Town series. That's a new night, which is really good. There's Reptile, which is another Saturday, kind of like XE, but they've just moved out of Tramp, which is no longer going to be a venue. So I think they're finding a new home at the moment. And then there's some other ones which a bit more a younger audience, like Space, which is hard and fast music, but it's more they don't get the big artists. They just get a lot of locals and up and comers, which is a really good platform for them to come through. I'm going to be missing a few, but
I'm sure there's
heaps,
plenty of venues. Is it more? What's sort of vibe down there? Is it venues but collectives go into them and do their own thing, or is it the club that sort of promotes itself?
It's more the clubs promote themselves, especially for Saturdays, but then on Fridays and stuff, there's collectives, or there's a set of venues which are not regular clubs, but they're event spaces, which then get used a lot. So then, people use the Gasso for that. They normally have bands and stuff. People use the Third Day, so these more your 1,000 capacity type venues. The Howler, they do it weekly, but it's more of an event space that people take over. Section 8's another really cool bar that plays a bit more quirky music, or they have Afro nights and stuff. So there's so much diversity. Yeah. It's really good.
That's great. There's a lot down there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Sydney. I'm not one to speak because I don't go out too often, which I should probably. But I feel like the sheer amount of venues that are in Melbourne, or good quality venues in Melbourne, don't compare to the ones the opposite. As in Sydney doesn't compare to Melbourne.
Yeah, I haven't spent enough time here to be critical of Sydney, but last night I went out and it was stacked. I went to 4 different clubs and they all had really good lineups and stuff. But from chatting to people, it seems that's not a normal thing to be.
Yeah, it's very occasional.
Yeah.
Whereas in Melbourne, back-to-back weekends is just
there's always
names everywhere. Whereas here, it's we'll have a break this week. We'll go next weekend. So
yeah,
it's also very hard to get into the city for some people.
Yeah,
it's not as accessible. I don't know how accessible
it's
is this.
Great.
No.
Yeah, I drive everywhere to all my gigs because there's always something wrong with the train system, or if you don't live close to a train station, then you got to get a bus. Yeah, it's
headaches.
Not the best. Yeah,
yeah, because you're an independent artist.
Yeah,
you're not signed with anyone. How do you go about booking gigs as an independent artist?
You need to know all the bookers and have good relationships with all the bookers. I think I get this so many people message me about this, how do you get gigs and stuff? I don't know what's the next step for me? And it's always do you know the people that are booking the lineups? When that person sits down at their computer and they decide who's going to play for me this weekend, if they don't know who you are, or they don't trust who you are, you're just not going to get booked, plain and simple. So you need to get to know all the different bookers, build a relationship with them by providing value at some point. So whether that's playing really good music for them all the time, or bringing a lot of people through the door, or helping them by doing some videography on the side, or doing some graphic design, or whatever way you can help these people. I think that's the way to get bookings. And then once you sort of nail that, now people come, I still reach out to people, but people come to me and because I'm on their mind when they're thinking about who to book on the lineups.
Yeah, right.
It's like, but it takes a while to get to that position.
So a lot of like networking and a lot of reach out.
Absolutely, yeah. Got to know everybody in the scene basically, because otherwise if they don't know who you are, you won't get booked really. Yeah,
for sure. And like in terms of like you're building up your production now, to get to that sort of next level, to break that glass ceiling that you have.
Yeah, definitely.
How's that production side going of things? Like, we mentioned a bit earlier, touched on it, that you have some tracks that are ready to go, but what's sort of like your plan in terms of your production?
It's I just sit down and I normally have an idea in mind. I have a notes on my phone of just like songs that I like the vibes. Normally like not even dance music. It's like, I really like the synths in this old like 70s song or 90s song. Like I'll try to bring that to life, whether that's through an edit or just using that as inspiration for a normal track. But I just sit down, start with the drums and the synths, and then go from there. But it's really good fun. I love spending time in Ableton. Like 6 hours feels like 2. It just flies by. And I try to do, if I can, a collaboration a week. And so sit down with someone, because you just learn so much more by sitting down with other people. Otherwise, I found initially before I was working with others, like you just sort of make the same song every time, like because you've only got the same skill set. And then you work with someone else, they teach you how to do a few new things. It's like, okay, now when I go back by myself, I can make a track using those new skills and stuff like that. So I just try collab and have fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's actually very important. I never really thought about that. I don't produce, so don't have much of a say, but collabing with people and making sure that you get that exposure to different skill sets so you can build on your own.
Yeah, it helps so much. And even just like when you're getting used to it, helps with the speed humps, because like if you don't have someone next to you, then like you hit a speed hump, right, you go on YouTube, spend 30 minutes, and then you get back to it. Whereas if you're with someone next to you, like, oh no, you just click this button, and then it's done in 5 seconds.
Yeah, 100%. That's very important, I think. And how have you sort of seen that help your personal production?
Yeah, helps so much. Like the tracks that I have now would be nowhere near as good as what they are if it wasn't for learning different techniques from other people, or just like little tips. Like someone's like, oh, you might be able to get your hats to sound a bit nicer, or your kick to be a bit fuller if you just do this and that. Like, oh, thank you. And like everyone's happy. Everyone wants more good music in the world. So everyone's been really happy to help so far. So shout out to the people that have helped me along the way, particularly James Bruce. He's the one who taught me everything I know initially. So it's been good fun.
Yeah, I want to ask, why have you taken the route that you have in terms of DJing first and then leaving your production till this moment now? Or, going all in for your production at this point now? Why not earlier?
I think just like time, really. Like I dabbled, like I got Ableton for the first time like 2 years ago before I was playing heaps and heaps, but then it was just hard. That's when I was still working, so it was hard to find time. And that was one of the main reasons for cutting down days at work and then eventually quitting my job, was so that I can have more time to produce. Just I play gigs so much. And like when I was working full time as well, it just it was really hard to prioritize it when that's the thing with producing. It's never the priority. Like there's always something that's due at the end of the day, or an email you need to get off, or a gig you need to prep for on Saturday. But production has no time limit on it. So I've started being a lot harder with myself and like setting goals. Like I need to spend this many hours in the studio this month or this week, because otherwise it's just like there's always something more urgent. And so now, and now that I know my sound, I feel a lot more comfortable in my sound. I feel like it's the right time to start making tunes. I also didn't really have a musical background, so it was quite a steep learning curve for me. Play a little bit of guitar, but that's it.
So your first exposure to music was really techno and dance music? Yeah,
in terms of like working with it and creating it and stuff. Yeah, so I wish I started early. I wish I was one of those kids who have been on Ableton since they were 10, but it's not the case. So
you don't have like a musical theory background or anything?
No. But
how's that learning curve then? Obviously you said it's a steep learning curve, but what are some challenges that you sort of face initially that you don't think you would have faced, or that other artists might face when they have like a musical background?
Yeah, if you have a musical background, you have a better understanding of keys and phrases and tones and semitones and what works well together. like if I'm playing this progression, like what would be the next logical thing? Whereas I have to trial and error like everything until I realize. But now that I've done that a lot of times, I have a bit of a feel for it. But if you'd played piano, like since you were a kid, like it would just be so much easier. Like if I could snap my fingers and have one like skill set, it would be knowing the piano. It would be so much easier for making tunes.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm hoping that because I'm releasing music now, I know I'm already established a bit as a DJ and have a community of support. If the tracks are good, then I'm hoping that, I'll be able to have a lot more push than if I was just popping out tracks before I'd really made any sort of name in the industry. Yeah.
Yeah, because you said you have 20 tracks built up.
About 10 that I've played out live and that have gone well, and then there's about 10 as well that okay, we'll forget about them. They were part of the journey, but yeah.
And you got to make those. You got to make those tracks to know.
Yeah, you do. And my friend Brucey said you got to make 20 shit ones before you release a good one, and so I kind of have followed that a little bit, and it just happens that out of the 20, there's 10 that are decent, but I need to keep pushing. Yeah.
Are you gonna release those 10, or are they more just for the vault?
Definitely gonna release one, and then there's about 4 that I could release, but they need a bit of work. So I'm gonna see how the first one goes, and then they're all trancey, but still quite techno-y, but I'm keen to move a bit more in the techno route in my production. So yeah, I might just get this one trancey one out first and then move on, see how we go. If people love it, then I'll give them more. Yeah, we'll see. I don't really know how it's going to go.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely one of those things that you just learn as it goes. You can't really plan releases in that way, especially being so critical and so nitpicky about it.
Yeah, yeah.
especially your first couple. You got to get the ball rolling.
That's it. I've been scared to release for a while because it's a big thing. Because I've already been DJing for a while. People are like, what are you going to produce? When are you going to produce? Everyone says, when are you going to produce? It's this is now my stance. All right, I'm a producer now. This is the quality that I'm at. This is the sound that I make. It's a big statement to release your first one. But I'm just trying to get over that and think, fuck it. If I look back at this in 3 years and think it's crap, at least it'll be a nice reference point in time to show how far I've come. And
100%.
that's what Giddy, Baron on Tracks, he's been so good at, giving me feedback and just saying dude, just get it. People say, just get it out. It doesn't matter. You can always delete it if you don't like it. So
it's more like a mental barrier. Big time.
Yeah. No one else cares as much as I do. For them, they'll be like, sweet, Brent released a track. Cool. Might listen, might not. For me, it's it's
because you know every element in there, so you hear everything a lot critically. And a lot of artists have said the same thing. It's people won't notice if there's something a little bit off here or there. It's just you that's going to notice, and it's going to drive you crazy
every time you play it.
Yeah. So I guess in that sense, you got to be perfect, but people aren't looking out for those things.
Yeah,
at least your everyday punter or everyday raver isn't looking out for those things.
Yeah, no, I just got to get over myself.
you played them in Europe when is that right?
Yeah, a couple of the tracks.
Do you think they were more made, you made them, they fit the vibe of Europe better?
Yeah,
very much.
There's one of the tracks is an edit of 99 Luftballons, which is a German song, and so I played it in Germany and it popped off. It was so good, but it's done really well here too. But then the other one's just a trancey track, which is it does well in Melbourne too. It's kind of more heartstring style, maybe a bit harder. But yeah, playing them overseas was really, really nice. The crowds over there are just insane. They rock up to the club to dance, and there's an outdoor area if you want to chat, and there's a place to go and get drinks outside if you want to chat. But when you're on the dance floor, you dance and you listen to the music and you appreciate the music. And so they're very welcoming, and they allow you to experiment and go off on your own journey because they trust the DJs and the clubs that book. So yeah, it's not I'm not going to go and see the opener because they must be some beginner. People are there from the start and they stay for a very long time. Why
do you think that? Why do you think that's their culture there?
I love the culture. I don't know why. I think it's just what people do on a Saturday. Is you go out. Dance music is very celebrated. You get paid really well over there because it's a valued art form. And is
that Germany specifically or Europe?
Particularly in Germany. Other areas are up and down, but yeah, particularly in Germany, they really respect the music and the clubs, and the clubs that book good lineups, they get regular people through it all. It's the other thing, demand is higher than supply there. In Australia, you have to grind so hard to sell out an event. Like that's a really difficult thing to do. The first event I played there in Bonn, like near Cologne in like central Germany sort of, they'd put out one story and one Instagram post before. And I was like, fuck, I've been talking a big game about going on this big Europe tour. I'm going to play to no one. They've done no promo, full, like packed. Wow. Same thing for one of the other ones, just packed. Like there's more people that want to go out than clubs. So all of them are full all the time. And so that's amazing. Yeah, we don't have that. Where it's kind of the opposite for us, where there's only so many people that want to go out every weekend, and we've got so many people trying to run events, which is great because it means there's lots of big artists around, but it's very hard to sell and to make money as a club these days. In Naarm specifically, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because here, if you compare it to like the promos and the social media promotion, it like every single day there's like 3 or 4 posts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, as you said, there was basically nothing.
Hardly anything.
And people were still there.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be no one there.
Do you think it's because... Why do you think that? Why do you think that's the case?
Like, you don't need to promote much if you know it's going to be full. And it gives it's like tangent, but it gives the bookers freedom to just book a lineup that they think is going to be really nice and work well. It's not about who's going to sell the most tickets, not about who's going to bring the most mates. It's just who's going to have the best music. And then that's ideal. That's what everyone wants to do. That's not like for Louder Than Words. We do that at Revs a bit because Revs is always busy. We don't have to sell tickets.
That's like one of the only exceptions, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Revs.
Yeah, basically Revs is the only exception where there's always going to be people regardless of who's on the lineup. The walk-ins there just because it's a famous club, so it's nice. How
do you reckon venues in Melbourne and Sydney and all around Australia can sort of follow that Revs model of just being busy no matter who's playing?
I think like they've almost missed the boat, like because Revs has been an institution for over 30 years. It's just such a trusted brand. Everyone's been there, or their mum and dad have been there, and there's most of the time people can say good things. So, because it's been consistent over the years, you go there, you know what you're going to get. So it means that it's like the number one walk-in spot because people just know it'll be a good time. Whereas at other places that might be newer, that they either don't know it or they might not trust it yet. So they want, who's the lineup? Might suss those DJs, don't know yet. Whereas if you rock up at Revs, like, because they have such a high standard for their DJs, you just know it's going to be a good time. So having a high standard is one tip, I guess. Yeah, and consistency over a long period of time.
Yeah. In that gig in Germany, was there a headliner, or was it more just sort of like a local lineup?
Yeah, that one was a local lineup.
And it's still sold out.
Sold out.
What was the capacity of that?
Like 300. Like it was a smaller club, but yeah, filled
still,
so quickly.
Yeah. The fact that it got filled. What time were you playing?
1 till 2:30, I think.
Right.
Yeah, I was sort of like, I had the peak time slot, which was really nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it was still packed before me and after me, and yeah, even from very early on, it was nice.
Yeah,
and I found that from everywhere that I played in Germany. Yeah.
How'd you go about booking your Europe tour?
Yeah, a lot of people
independently as well. You weren't.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably reached out to promoters and may have put up an Instagram story, but how do you book a Europe tour from Australia independently?
Yeah. Can I have 2 minutes to just reel off?
You have as long as you want.
Because people message me this a lot, and I'm really happy to help. I'm not holding any secrets, but like I reckon I send this voice message to people every week where someone asks. So I think about it as like, yeah, if you're like in my position where you don't have tracks and you're not necessarily known overseas, and I see is like a drop a pebble in a lake. You've got your different rings. So like you got to start with your inner ring. Who do you already know over there that has the power to book? If you know them, great, get chatting, see what you can do. If not, ask who they can get to help you out. If they don't know, well then who are some Aussies that you know who have been over, and see if they can help out. If they can't help, ask them who else can help. And then if not, then you start to reach out to clubs directly. And I would recommend reaching out to collectives rather than clubs, because collectives are just smaller and a lot more easy to communicate with, whereas clubs, I sent a bunch of emails and basically got nothing, but I spoke to a lot of like collectives and stuff. And so after that, you just keep like reaching out, and then eventually you'll get your first gig. And then once you get your first gig, it's so much easier to get the rest. Like 5 weeks before I left, I didn't have any gigs. And then 4 weeks before I left, I had 7. Because
all around Europe or just Germany?
It's Scotland, the Netherlands, and Germany. Because once you got one, Then like I got my first one in Scotland in Edinburgh, and then I looked at that club's like little Instagram profile, and you can click a little button to see like who's similar, who's in the area, and that's how you get to know similar collectives. And I'd message them, say, hey, I'm going to be in Edinburgh this weekend. Do you have any gigs the weekend before or after? And I always said I'm happy to play for the local set fee. Like it's not about the money for me, it's about the experience. And then then it happened a lot more quickly. People were like, oh shit, yeah, don't have to pay for your flights or anything. Like, sure, we'll do it. And so when I sent them that message, I would just normally have like hey, I'm Brent, DJ, on tour, going to be around. Here's some more information about me. And the key information that they liked was who I'd supported rather than like where I've played. They don't care what Revs is, what XE is, what Oxford Arts Factory is. They liked that I'd supported this international, that international. Right, okay. And then like sent them some mixes, but like who even knows if they listen. It was more just like having good quality like press videos to show them that I can get a crowd going and that I've supported big artists. And then they got around it. So
they care more about who supported rather than where you've played.
Yeah, because they don't know the clubs. They don't know what's reputable over here. But if I reel off names, like, you know, Seb Pangadini, Deb DeLuca, Rainer Zonneveld, Funk Tribute, like all these people I've supported, they're like, oh shit, they're good artists. Like if you're playing with them, you must be somewhat decent. And then they went from there. So yeah, it was months of work to get it going, but ended up having 7 shows and then 2 interstate shows to accompany it. And there was a lot more that I spoke to that didn't have a date for me or just didn't work out. And so then this year I'll reach out to them. And so just trying to keep building the contacts.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very valuable. Because a lot of people, you see, as you said, as an independent artist who doesn't have the production to back him. I think you've done very well with your Europe gigs as well. Like you played at a festival, one festival, or did you play?
Yeah, one festival. It was huge. It was like 30,000 capacity. Yeah. And that came about from a TikTok. I played at a Bushduff called Allergen by the Mammy Boys run that one. And they know someone in Germany, and she saw a TikTok of me that I put up of me playing that set. It was like, it just looked really cool being in the bush playing on a stage. And she reached out like, hey, if you ever come to Germany, let me know. Like, well, I'm coming to Germany. And I was meant to play on the Sunday. It's like 3 days on the Sunday opening set on like the 3rd stage. And then a week before, Len Fakey, who's like a massive DJ, pulled out because of COVID. And so then I got a call saying, hey, Brent, do you want to play main stage, main techno stage? And I was with my friend Brucey in a hotel. Like, oh my God, like, are you kidding? And like, I was trying to be like, yep, sounds really good. Yep, I'll try to play it cool. I was like freaking out. And so I ended up opening the stage. And after me was Shaughnessy, Joy Hauser, Deb DeLuca, Rainer Zonneveld, Art Bat. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I had backstage access, free drinks and food for 3 days. I was hanging out with like Narcissus, MCRT. It was the best experience. It was like the best. Yeah, that was probably awesome. My favorite gig. Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw some videos. What is it? Echelon?
Yeah. Yeah.
Echelon. Where's that?
It's in Munich. About hours south of Munich. Yeah.
Right. And what date is that?
It's in August, last weekend in August. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That would have been a cool experience to just be in and amongst that environment.
Never had more imposter syndrome in my life though. I was like, this is not like, I'd been staying in hostels, living cheap, and then they put me up in the Hilton the night before. Had a sprinter to the I was like, I'm just going to take this because this is not me. I'm a local from Melbourne. Like I'm not on the same level as these big dogs. Like I'm just going to take it.
Do you reckon you get used to that sort of lifestyle though? Or is that not you?
I'm very simple. I don't need that stuff. No, I'm just, as long as there's a bed and a shower, like I'm chill. I don't need that. So
you'll stay in hostels and stuff, or you're playing those gigs in Europe?
Yeah, just trying to do it cheap, really. Because when you do it full time, like music, I don't make heaps of money, but I make enough to get by. So yeah, I'd rather stay for longer and be in hostels than treat myself to fancy stuff and be there for 3 weeks. Sort of thing.
One day though, you'll deserve it. You'll deserve all that fancy stuff.
We'll see.
I mean, if the collective's offering it, then why not?
Yeah, they just offered it. I was like, I wasn't expecting that, but sure, I'm gonna take that.
Yeah. Who'd you get to interact with backstage?
Heaps of lots of different people.
Were there like sort of like proper conversations, or were they just sort of like in passing.
Some in passing, but then like Sam Paganini, who's like one of the godfathers of like a Carl Cox type operator. He was super duper nice. He was sitting down next to me when we were having our lunch, and just started chatting. And like at the start, he was a bit, every time he was backstage, there would be someone wanting to chat to him, and so I just had a little chat, and then he like warmed to me. And like when people found out I was from Australia, they're like, oh, I was thinking Will Sparks was on the lineup as well, but I was the only other Aussie. And so they're like, oh, what? Like you're an Aussie in Munich? Like how do you find it? And then so it was more just chatting about like, travel stuff and life. But then there was a guy, Shaughnessy, who's a resident in Ibiza. He's been playing there for 15 years. He was so nice. So he was in the transport with me from the hotel, and he knows Mike Toner, who's a legend in Melbourne, runs Thick as Thieves. And Mike had toured him previously, and so when he said like, oh, you're from Australia, do you know Mike? It's like, yeah. He's like, oh man, Mike looked after me better than anyone who's ever toured me in my life. And he was telling me about all the stuff he did with Mike, and so he's like, we still chat all the time, Shaughnessy and I, and he's been really nice.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah,
those sort of experiences are very invaluable, aren't they?
Yeah, big time.
There's so much. Like even that small conversations you have, you learn so much from them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, lots of little nuggets of gold, and just like it's always nice to speak to people like that and just really they're just people.
That's what I'm gonna say. Yeah,
I see them as superstars, but they're just homies who want to play good music and have fun.
And they just made it.
yeah. And they had the right tracks at the right time, and got
through. That's actually a thing I feel like people. I feel like you and I are both guilty.
Yeah.
You sort of look at them as superstars, but they are just people.
Yeah.
They do the same thing as you do, but.
Yeah. Oh, one person that was sick actually was Parfait.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so because I had like backstage artists, I just went and like fanboyed over everyone. I was just like staying, like I'd be right behind them in the decks. And she was playing 3 decks at once and did a double backspin. And so you had to do that, and then to stop the tracks from like going ugly, like you got to like double plant your hand on the vinyl,
right,
on the player. And then she's like realized she had no hands left to mix the track, and I was the only one around. She's like and like she's like, come on. And like I don't know if she's like speaks English that good, we didn't really chat, but she's like, come on. And then I was like, oh shit, like you need help mixing. So then she was playing in front of like 15,000 people, and I mixed the next track in for her. And then it happened again later, but her hair got caught in her headphones.
What?
Because like when you have like a curly cord, like it just happens. And she was like, oh, again. And so her head was caught in her headphones, and then, mixed in her next track. And
what a chaotic set.
Yeah, crazy. And then like we were just hanging out afterwards and stuff, and she was a legend.
Yeah, is there any video? Is there a video of that?
No, we took a selfie afterwards.
Oh. Has Echelon released any of like their
they didn't film
the gigs?
The sets, I don't think. They did like clips, there was videographers, but there was no one there at those particular times.
That would have been sick. That might have been a viral moment where some
it actually could have been.
Big time, yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, that's so sick. Yeah, I feel like that's a cool experience because that's sort of like the biggest gig you've played so far, would you say?
Yeah, it's like biggest in terms of like scale. I think like crowd wise, BTV probably. I played main stage. Like it was you could probably fit 15,000 people on the stage I played, but I was on 11 till 12:45. So I had like 300 or so.
So you're opening the stage? Yeah. That's still an important role though.
It was.
You gotta hit in the door.
And it was tricky because they said to me, play whatever you want from the start. Like we want you to play you, but then like me is like normally hard, and it was a techno stage. So like far out, like what do I play? Especially given that like there's so many big dogs after me, like I don't want to piss them off, but I also wanted to like, this could be my big moment. Like I need to go. So I started slow, went hard in the middle, and then finished. That's the beauty of having an hour 45 set, is you can play around. But if I thought I was worried about BTV in terms of like what to play, like that one was so stressful. But I asked a lot of people and they gave me good advice. So, yeah. How
do you like dig through track? Because you have obviously a massive catalog, 12,000 tracks. You said, how do you like dig through tracks and find new stuff? Because I feel like 12,000 tracks, surely there's a limit somewhere where you're just like, okay, I think I've got enough. But
there's always new tunes, and because I've just played so many different genres over the years and different gigs, like I've just built it up. But yeah, I need to like I'll make a video about this one day, like showing people how I find my tunes. But I mainly use Bandcamp, Beatport, SoundCloud, and I find most of my new stuff through Bandcamp. So Bandcamp, like you buy all your tunes and you follow the record, like you buy it off the record label. And so then on the side, there's like a little thing that shows all the new releases from the different record labels that you follow. And I follow like so many. So like every fortnight, I'll go through all the new releases that'll come out. And then once I've looked at those, then I search like, there's like a general browser which shows, you know, all the new releases. And so I'll go through that. There's like hundreds and hundred pages. So I'll always go through 20 what's popular and 20 what's new. And then hopefully from that, I find some new labels. And then you go and look at their discography. If you find an artist you like, you look at all their old stuff. And then SoundCloud, just get the algorithms going. It has good recommendations.
Yeah, that's true.
And then once I've done that, I'll find, you know, if I find 80 songs from that, I'll put them all into a Spotify playlist. And then at the bottom of the playlist, do the recommend for me, like what else to add to that playlist. Just like, you got to be smart. Let's
just
like
pulling it from absolutely everywhere.
Pull it everywhere and then let the algorithms do the work. Yeah. That's the way I do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still have songs that you might have found like 4 or 5 years ago that you played today? Or a lot of the songs, like a lot of your sets, like fresher material?
Yeah. I try to freshen it. I kind of like, I find like maybe say like 80 songs at once. That'll probably narrow down to about 50 that I actually want to play out. I always buy a bunch of tracks and they sound cool when I'm digging, and then I buy them and I'm like, it's actually not the vibe I was going for. But I'll have like 50 or so that I rinse for like 3 or 4 different sets. Then I'll put it into a mix, release the mix, share it with everybody, and then find new tunes. And then I always have them so I can come back to them, so I know like the hits if I need to get the crowd going. But I think the role of a DJ, one of it is to always be showing people new music and stuff. So yeah, I always try to keep it fresh. But with the housey stuff, there's probably a bit... my housey stuff's more 90s, so there's more timeless stuff that I go back to. But trance and techno moves so quickly. There's so many new producers these days that you can always find new music.
I think trance and techno is it's like becoming a lot more mainstream. So
definitely.
There's more producers coming out. I think a lot of producers are making the transition towards that sort of music.
Yeah.
So they might have been a bit slower, maybe a bit harder, but now they're sort of scaling back or scaling up to that sort of stuff.
Yeah, everyone's falling into that range, the sweet spot. Yeah.
Like the 140
to 160 really these days, which it's a whole debate as to whether or not that'll be sustainable and whether this is just a trend and a pass in time.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting you say that, because I think, as we both said earlier, that house music is very timeless. It's been around for actually not that long, but longer than most genres.
But it's still 30, 40 years, yeah.
But you're never gonna be like, oh, why is house music playing?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
this is so old.
Like, there's still so many classic tracks from those days that are still getting rinsed today and getting a great reaction. Whereas,
I don't think people will be playing TikTok techno in 30 years.
Hopefully not. I mean, look,
it's fun now and I enjoy it, but once like there's like a cycle where it's like an underground scene, like DJ Heartstring basically created this new genre of fast techno, of fast trance, euphoric trance. Everyone jumps on board, and then once the commercial DJs who used to do commercial stuff that people don't like your Calvin Harris's, like he's making this music now, then it becomes uncool, because then it starts to get onto the mainstream
and radio.
And then people move away, and that's when we find what the new thing is. But I don't know what the new thing is going to be yet. It's the race. I think Italo is going to have its moment, because it's euphoric, trancey build-ups, but slower housey tunes.
Yeah, it's hard to think. It's probably. I reckon it's more like fashion. It just recycles. It'll this phase will go, and then maybe in 30 years it'll come back, because some producer will bring it back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
In a slightly different way.
Like that's like Italo disco as well, as you said, massive in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah,
sort of dropped off, and now we've got there's amazing producers, as we mentioned, Pablo Bozzi, but there's probably underground producers that are also producing some crazy tunes. So
yeah,
we'll see. It's exciting though to think what's next.
Yeah, I just want to get onto it early.
Well, do you think that's important? Do you think it's important to get on it early, or do you think it's just important to do it well?
Both. It's also important to stay true to your sound and not just chase whatever's popping. But if it's something that comes up and you think is you got to do it early and well. It's both. Like DJ Heartstring did the early trance stuff.
They did it very well.
And they also, because of that, have had more time to become probably the best at it, you would say. But then people like same with Marlon, he then sort of created another like kind of subgenre. It's a bit more drivey, bit more like push and pull with the offbeat bass. But
Narcissus is like another example that I can think of, but yeah, I think in Australia the hard groove's like very popular at the moment.
Melbourne is like Naarm in particular, just so much hard groove. Yeah,
but it's again one of those things like it's very easy to dance to. It's very easy to listen to, especially if you look at the lower ranges, like the low BPM ranges.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily too hard where it's gonna like you're like, oh, I'm getting sick of it.
Yeah,
it's like it's groovy, which is what it is.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of talented producers that are doing it.
Stacks.
Yeah,
so many.
Yeah,
it's great to see. We have like our own little, like when you had Jess,
yeah.
When he was on, like he was like, oh yeah, Max 6 cents net. Like he knew everyone here. Like, oh, that's sick.
Yeah, it's because he's his style is hard groove, and obviously, the ones you just named there, very good hard groove producers.
Yeah.
So like,
cool. We're like sort recognized hub.
The community is like they just like know each other, all produce great tunes, so they all just are mates. Yeah, that's how it works, I guess.
What's your fave genre?
Oh, it varies. I'm a bit of everything. As I said recently, Italo disco's massive at the moment for me. Just because it's very slow, but I love my hard techno. Like Nick and Moreno, Oggers, who I'm seeing next month. I'm super keen for. Like I Hate Model sort of vibe, that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm keen. But last year, DJ Heartstrong was actually my number one listened to artist. Yeah. So I think I only got it really introduced to them last year as well. Yeah. So very big fan of like that music. But I like the older stuff.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
The newer stuff, it's great.
More poppy.
But the older stuff was a lot more authentic.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So that's why. But I like everything. Yeah. Honestly, don't really have a preference. Hard groove was a massive one for me as well. I rinsed that. Yeah. Yeah. So, but as expected, most people did. Yeah. Yeah. So as I said, I don't really have like a. I think it's just there's phases.
Yeah, I think
like next month I'll go through a phase where I just listen to like one genre. Yeah. And then next month I'll go through another one. So
I like it. Are you going to pitch?
Yes. Nice. So I'm super excited for that. A lot of hard techno. Yeah, a lot of hard techno on that one. I don't know. Yeah. I guess that was their Untitled sort of objective.
Well, yeah, I think Untitled with pitch, and like I know Monty does a lot of programming. He's like a genius. That basically sets the scene for the next 12 months of what's going to be big. Like prior to pitch last year, like there wasn't heaps of garage. Or if you wanted to see garage, you went to a garage event. It wasn't at a club. Now these days, you hear garage getting played everywhere, and it's because they had so many garage artists on the lineup. I feel.
I didn't hear too much garage. Who was like last year's lineup? That was
the big one was Interplanetary Criminal.
Oh yes, obviously, yep.
And then there was others as well.
Club Angel was there as well.
Yeah, Club Angel. Ben UFO did a bit of garage in his set as well. There was quite a few. I'm not like super into that scene, so I'm not the best with names. But then like you've just seen the rise of that massively, in the scene. And so now like having hard techno, I think that's going to come through. Teletech have announced that they're going to come here.
I think what's the other one?
Yeah, there was.
I forgot their names. Yeah, they're another massive festival. Another massive. They're Deckmantle.
Oh yeah, sorry.
They announced they're doing a Melbourne show, I think. Yeah, I don't think they're hard techno. I think they're usually, but they're still a massive.
Like it's like there's housey stuff, there's proggy stuff. It's a bit more like alternative kind of like.
But it's great to see those big collectors come out here because they see there's a market here.
I think and like Boiler Room been coming here for ages and like adding more shows. Like Melbourne's like it's legit. Like people really
we need Sydney to go down that route as well because I can't keep looking at those things and seeing that it's only Melbourne shows.
Yeah, well I think it's like they're coming to Melbourne and then there's side shows that are hitting Sydney, hitting Perth, Adelaide sometimes. So it's like I think the more the more they come to Melbourne, it's good, and then we push people out to other cities so they play more shows and build the culture. But yeah, I don't really know why it's like different, like in Naarm, but it's good that we're recognised. Like Australia's recnised. Like any DJ who wants to do a world tour, like they'll be putting Australia on their map.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just I've talked to like people that have toured artists from from Europe, which is so far. Yeah, that's literally the only barrier to entry is just the fact that we are a minimum 25-hour flight away from Europe. Yeah, if we were any closer, I think we'd be getting artists here. Oh, way more often.
And ours would be getting shipped over too. That's why everyone moves to Berlin and London if you're a DJ, because like
there's more opportunity.
No one wants to book you if it costs $1.5 to get you over there. Like
unless you're offering to pay your own flight.
Yeah, like that's what I did. Like, well, no one's going to pay me that, so I'll put myself there.
Yeah, but I think that's awesome. I think it's good. It's a great analysis of it. That like I didn't actually mention know that or even think about the fact that pitch sort of sets the stage or sets the scene.
Very much.
Has that happened before besides just last year? I don't remember the years before lineups, but
last year was the first time I went to pitch. My family always goes away that weekend. It's like it's like Christmas for us basically. So I haven't been able to go until now. I've like put the foot down. I'm like, nah, I go to pitch now. But I think it is the case because like that's the crowd. The pitch crowd is music lovers. Like it's not just people. Like BTV is a fun party for everyone. And that's awesome, and that's what it's for. It's to spend New Year's with your mates and listen to music. Whereas you go to pitch if you love music, you love dance music, you're an experienced duffer, and most DJs go there as well. And so then because all the DJs go there and all the promoters go there, they hear people getting around Garage, for example, and then everyone's like, shit, okay, people like this. And then the DJs start playing it because they heard it. And then the promoters start booking DJs that have done well in Garage. And it's just like, it all flows on. So
yeah, right. Interesting. That's an interesting way to look at it.
And it's smart because now, like, for example, like the pitch, they'll set their lineup, but then they would have booked those artists for pitch, but they've also booked artists for mid-year. So like, you know, your other companies will realize, oh shit, pitch have just booked like Garage. We need to get on the Garage scene, but then they'll go to book the Garage artists and Untitled have already booked them all.
Very clever business model.
They are.
Yeah,
they're
absolutely
so
insane.
smart.
They're a
it's
monster,
insane. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone that is part of that team.
Yeah.
They've actually done very well the last 12 to 18 months. I feel like they've just become like a staple. Like Untitled is like the one.
Yeah. They've got
Finally Tuned in Sydney though is also very good.
Doing really cool stuff.
They do very good stuff.
Lost Paradise. Have you been to Lost before?
Yeah, I went the year before last. So very good festival as well.
Looks cool.
Yeah, it's a great festival. I want to actually bring up an issue, but at BTV the main stage was always so empty, unless it was the headliners.
Yeah,
there was never anyone there. I felt really bad though. Sometimes walk into the dance dome and you just see them performing, and you're like, oh my god! It's like, you should that they would sell out a crowd somewhere else, but just because Beyond the Valleys, people just love their like dance music. Yeah, no one's very much interested in that side of things, really.
Yeah, it is an issue because it's they're spending a lot of money to get artists, and even just to build that stage, a lot of money. So to then not fill it out is interesting. I
wonder how they're going to go forward, if they're just going to stick to what's true, or if they're going to maybe.
Well, last year it was like the same or even worse potentially in terms of the divide. But then Falls cancelling. So Falls Festival used to be either go to BTV or you go to Falls. They're the two big ones. And Falls was more Triple J bands. BTVs had both. But Falls didn't go ahead this year. Companies like Untitled can afford to have a bad year because they run so many other, like Mr. Yum. Like if you order via a QR code, like that's an Untitled business. Really? They have fitness businesses. They have Proxy. They have got a lot of businesses, so they can support themselves. Whereas there's other festivals that they just do that. So if you have one or two bad years because of COVID, floods, bushfires, whatever, like it's so hard to come back. So I don't know what the situation is with Falls, but they're on an indefinite break. And so because they cancelled, there's a whole market which used to go for bands which now had nowhere to go. So I think that BTV, assuming they decided to keep that stage more bandy to accommodate for that market. But as we saw this year, it was still quite empty.
Yeah. Besides, as I said, the headliners, it was very, very empty.
Yeah. I went to BTV in 2017 and I didn't spend a minute in the dance dome. I was on the band stage and that was when that was like the style of music that I liked more. It was like
what was the capacity? What was like the crowd in terms of people at that stage? Was it busier?
It was probably more like 50-50.
Right.
Yeah, but it was always busy. There was never like an empty set, even from the start of the day there. So it's so different, and it shows that music, like dance music, has become a lot more popular in fashion. It's trendy. Like doof culture on like TikTok and stuff. Like it's cool. Like the kids want to go to a doof to dress up and stuff. Whereas that just means that people like dancing. It's good for the dance industry.
Yeah, 100%.
But I feel bad for the artists playing on a massive stage to a green grass.
Yeah, pretty much. And people walking past and just completely ignoring them.
Yeah.
But I think that's why I said earlier, I found it so busy because I think
80%
of the festival was at the dance dome most of the time. So
it wasn't
what's
spread,
the capacity? What 30,000 people, I think?
35 for the whole festival.
35. So you could think that's probably like, what, 25,000 people. And let's be honest, the dance dome is, I don't think they were ready for that amount of people to be there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was still a great festival, but just very busy. I think just because majority of the festival was at the dance dome.
Yeah.
And obviously Dr. Dan's, it was split up between those. But even Dr. Dan's was busier than...
Yeah. During my set, I've heard it was. And like, they extended the Dr. Dan's at least the last 2 nights by an hour because it was so busy at the dance. I think they just needed another place for
just
people
to get rid of it.
Just for people to go, give them another option. They expanded the capacity of the small club as well. It probably doesn't make much of a difference in terms of like crowd, but yeah. And also like main stages are just, particularly earlier in the day, they're quite intimidating if there's no one around. They feel very empty. Like if you had 400 people at the main stage, that feels empty, but 400 people at Dr. Dan's feels good.
It's like full basically, isn't it? Yeah.
So people go there early in the day. Like that's the experience I had at Cake on New Year's Day. I was really lucky. I played on a like more intimate stage 1 till 2, but it was the busiest stage at the festival because like there was amazing artists on every stage. Like it's nothing about them, but like if you rock up, you don't just want to be like, you know, looking at this big massive structure with no one around you. It's nicer to be a small cozy sort of
more intimate. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, very interesting. I'm very interested to see where they go. I wonder if that's something even of concern or if they're
they might just be happy with it.
They're much like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, well, they still sold out. So.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see what the landscape of the whole dance music scene is going to be in the next, even like 12 months after pitch, as you said.
Yeah.
If what you said is correct and if that does come true, then we could be seeing a lot of hard techno in the next 12 months.
I think we will. And
it's already very trendy though, like very much so. Like Jet, who runs BPM, he's done very well with that, and he's very true to the culture of hard techno, being part of BPM, and he's brought out awesome artists. He's bringing Oguz, he's bringing 9x9 as well. Yeah. And I'm sure he's going to bring a bunch of others as well.
You would have loved Echelon, actually. There was 9x9, I Hate Models, like that crew. Yeah.
I think it's just, they just don't come out here enough. Whereas in Europe, they tour every single summer.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I don't see him this year, I'll just see him next year.
Yeah, true.
Or I'll see him like at the next show.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And like having like the international brands come over, like I wonder, like Deckmantle, like I know they haven't sold out yet, so I don't know what like tickets wise. So I was like, they're a massive international brand, but they haven't had that hit. They haven't made their mark yet. But like if Teletech start doing it, like Boiler Room always sell out, like will that affect the Aussie brands that have done really well?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to think that because it might bring even more attention to the crowd, to like the scene, and maybe there might be new fans and people that enjoy that more. But Teletech's a massive one. But it's very interesting to see who they bring. Will they invest a bunch of money to bring some big artists, or are they going to sort of keep it low key,
rely on their brand?
Yeah, keep it low key, suss the vibe. It's like, okay, well, if we can sell it with these artists, imagine what we can do with these artists. True. Or they're just going to go balls to the wall. Yeah. Like they do with most of their festivals.
Yeah, because Deckmantle didn't really, like that lineup wasn't as like, didn't have the same caliber that they one in Amsterdam. It's obviously cheaper and easier in Amsterdam to bring big artists. But I was like, interesting. Like not the first impression that I was probably expecting, but you're right. It's probably suss the vibe, see what happens, hopefully make some money, and then next year make it huge.
Yeah, go crazy. But we'll see. It's very exciting.
There's so
very
many parties on. It's great.
Yeah, everyone's doing great, but it's awesome. But yeah, that's been a very great long conversation. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah. But thanks for coming on.
Mate, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, hopefully you enjoy the rest of your trip in Sydney.
I will.
Go to a few more parties as well while you're here.
I will. I'll hit up a couple tonight, I reckon.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, anyways, if you guys are still listening at this point, I know it's been a very, very long time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for Brent for coming on.
Anytime.
Make sure you guys obviously like, share, subscribe. It helps out a lot. But besides that, I'll see everyone in the next episode. Take care.